The murder plan. Brady was cross-examined at length about 3 pages of notes. Brady described them as his disposal plan, but Sir Elwyn Jones insisted it was a plan for murder. He said it was drawn up before Evans was murdered or even contacted. Brady was equally insistent that it was drawn up hastily after he knew he had killed Evans. Handing the list to Brady, Sir Elwyn commented how neatly the columns were ruled and how leisurely the notes appeared to be made. Brady replied, it was not done leisurely, but hurriedly. He was asked questions about the meaning of the entry PTS, wipe. He said it meant wiping fingerprints. There was also a note about cleaning the hatchet. Questioned about when the hatchet was to be cleaned, Brady said, before use, yes, and after use. The judge asked if Brady had said that the phrase meant the hatchet was to be cleaned before leaving the house. Brady replied, cleaned before use, cleaned before digging, before it left the house. Sir Elwyn, digging what? The earth. With a hatchet? Yes. He agreed he used a spade and not a hatchet when he had gone digging for peat on the moors. Sir Elwyn, clean before use. For murder, that's what it means. No, it means before digging. It had to be cleaned off in case it was dropped in the dirt. The judge again intervened to ask Brady about the meaning of the phrase, clean before, and Brady said, clean off the prints and dog hairs, clean before digging. Sir Elwyn, why clean the prints off, in case it was dropped in the dark and left? The Attorney General asked, were you going to use the hatchet to dig the moors? Brady replied, no. He was then questioned about the letters GN, which he said meant gun. Bull polish meant polish bullets to remove fingerprints if they were used. The Attorney General, why should guns be used? We were taking them along as insurance. By whom? Anyone. By the police? By anyone. Brady agreed that he was referring to interference against burying Evans. The Attorney General, you would shoot to kill if anyone came on the scene. No. But if you were challenged, I could not say unless the circumstances happened. The Attorney General, if what happened? If someone investigated or interfered, I would not be sure unless I was faced with the actual circumstances. You'd have shot him? I would go to extreme lengths not to. Brady said cleaning the guns was to have been Smith's responsibility. Sir Elwyn referred to the notebook reference, RECE, meaning reconnaissance, and check periodically on move. Sir Elwyn, that would mean revisiting the scene. Yes. When questioned about what check not disturbed meant, Brady replied that it merely meant he would have to revisit Evans' grave at a future date to see if anything had been left in the darkness. Sir Elwyn, precisely what you were doing again and again in connection with the graves of Leslie Ann Downey and John Kilbride. No. But Brady agreed that he intended to check that the body had not been moved. He intended to check that the grave was all right. Sir Elwyn said Brady was a careful planner and suggested he would want some indication of the location of the grave. A photograph, he said, would be a good way of doing this. Brady replied, I suppose so. The tense 2-hour spell of questioning eased slightly when the Attorney General produced an ordnance survey map of the moors, and Brady took advantage of the brief relief to refresh himself by wiping his lips with a handkerchief. Still dealing with the murder plan, Brady said the letters WH stood for Woodhead, not Wessenden Head on Saddleworth Moor. He maintained he did not know Saddleworth Moor particularly well. Brady said the entry Pro P meant a drug named Pro Plus, which he planned to take to get us through the extreme circumstances. Sir Elwyn: Dutch courage? No, energy. What was the energy required for? It was because of everything that had to be done. Sir Elwyn suggested, this was one of your apparently vital steps in your technique of planning for murder. You took a drug to give you added strength to see it through. Brady: No. After Evans' death, I was exhausted and drained. I was green and in a cold sweat. I wanted something to get me through. Sir Elwyn: But according to David Smith's evidence, you told him that part of your preparation for killing was to take a drug Pro Plus. That's rubbish. I was going to take the Pro Plus on the next night when we buried the body. Sir Elwyn said, Surely the hardest job was to kill him. Brady replied, I don't know what you mean. He did agree, however, that he was to select the spot for Evans. He added, Myra Hindley and Smith were to drive round every 5 minutes past the spot on the moors where the grave was to be. This was so we would not be detected. The Attorney General: Was this because you had a similar experience while burying another body? Wasn't there an occasion when Myra was questioned by the police while she was in a parked car and you were disposing of another body? No. Brady alleged that it was to have been Smith's job to dispose of the axe, burning the shaft and burying the head. He was questioned further about the cleaning of clasps on clothing and brushing off hairs, and then the Attorney General said, So there would be no trace at the grave. That was the idea? The undetected murder? Brady replied, Yes. Sir Elwyn: Basically, this document was prepared before the killing of Evans. No. Asking about a note, 10 but, which was said to mean 10 buttons, Sir Elwyn asked, Is it then a mere coincidence that there were 10 buttons on the jacket of Evans? Brady replied, Unless someone has torn 1 or 2 off, it was a coincidence. The Attorney General then referred to the words new story and asked if they related to what is to happen or what is to be done by your Confederates in the event of your being arrested. Brady replied that he thought it was something to do with what we would do on the moors in case we had to run for it and were without transport. Asked by the Attorney General if his plan to dispose of Evans was not criminal, Brady replied, It was a case of self-survival. Did it never occur to you that the parents of Evans might want to know what had happened to their son? Indifferently, almost offhandedly, Brady replied, Yes. Did you do anything about it? Nothing. Again, indifferently, there was nothing I could do. You could have at least gone to the police about it. Why didn't you? Without hesitation, Brady replied, I expected to get away with it. I hoped to. But Smith had gone to the police, hadn't he? Yes. Do you blame him for that? Yes, for what has now occurred. You mean he incriminated you, so you weren't able to commit perfect murder? Yes. And of course you have hated Smith since he went to the police. Once again Brady replied indifferently, He is not worth hating. Is it right that you have planned carefully before committing many crimes? Probably. Murder? No. asked why he described his plan to rob Evans as a hotting up exercise, Brady replied, "It was in preparation for a small robbery. It was just to get the atmosphere." How are you to get the atmosphere? Well, robbing is robbing, and robbing usually involves violence. It depends how it is handled. Brady agreed that if he and Smith were to rob an electricity official, guns were to be carried, but added they were to be an insurance against interference. Sir Elwyn asked, "Interference by whom? Unfortunate police with batons?" I told Smith that if he used a gun, he should shoot at the ground for the noise effect, or if he shot at anyone suddenly, to shoot at their shoulder. You were quite a good shot, and were training Smith for revolver shooting. Yes. He was your disciple in other respects too? No.